it's illogical to think that my daughter decided to hike up a creek, take off her clothes, go further up, and lay down in.
We have a guest here who is refusing to pay her bill, and we think she sounds really crazy. She may be on drugs or something. We are wondering if someone could come by and pick her up.
Tonight, we are looking for answers in the disappearance of a beautiful California beauty queen.
A beauty contestant, an honor student, and now a missing person.
Specifically told the deputy, "This is uncharacteristic of my daughter. She appears to be in a crisis state."
Police released her from a remote substation in the middle of the night.
If Mitrice Richardson's name was Spears or Lohan, they would never have let her walk out by herself. They would have escorted her home.
Nearly a year later, her half-naked body was found in a remote canyon, partially mummified.
Mitrice Richardson was 24 years old, a college graduate with a 4.0 GPA, 2 jobs, and plans for graduate school, and was known for being joyful, responsible, and deeply loved. On the evening of September 16, 2009, Mitrice drove to Malibu for dinner at a high-end restaurant. She arrived alone, and almost immediately, staff and guests noticed something was off. Her behavior seemed scattered, and by the end of the night, she couldn't pay her bill. Mitrice was arrested and taken to the Lost Hills Sheriff Station. Just after midnight, she was released alone, without her cell phone, wallet, and no car. The next morning, Mitrice was gone. Nearly a year later, her remains were found deep in a canyon not far from where she was last seen. This is the story of Mitrice Richardson. Mitrice Lavender Richardson was born on April 30th, 1985 in Los Angeles County, California. She was born to her young parents, Latisse and Michael Richardson. The couple were high school sweethearts, and although her parents were young, Mitrice was never without love and support. Mitrice's great-grandmother Mildred played a big role in her early life, helping to care for her while her young parents finished school and began building their lives. Unfortunately, the couple separated when Mitrice was very young, but Mitrice stayed close with her father and family even after her mother remarried, and they moved to the quiet suburban community of Covina with her stepfather, Larry Sutton.
Mitrice was a joy growing up. She was such a ball of energy.
She was my heartbeat. She was my everything.
Vivacious personality, but full of life.
Mitrice's mother often called her a rainbow, a reflection of how bright and full of energy she was. Mitrice's upbringing wasn't just happy, it was vibrant and full of accomplishment. From a young age, she had a love for performing and expressing herself. That passion followed her into middle school, where she started cheerleading and exploring dance. By the time she reached South Hills High School in West Covina, Mitrice was thriving both academically and socially.
This is Mitrice Richardson.
She was an amazing student. She stayed active in school life, joining the cheerleading squad, competing in pageants, running track, and participating in dance classes. Mitrice was radiant, but what people remembered most was her kindness. She was very friendly, often striking up conversations with strangers. It was that gentle, open-hearted spirit that made her unforgettable.
Hey, fairy princess. If anybody got a problem with you wearing a crown, they could taste mine one.
After graduating from South Hills High School, Mitrice Richardson enrolled at California State University, Fullerton. She majored in psychology because she was fascinated by human behavior and deeply drawn to helping others, especially children.
Wanted to be a child psychologist, specifically work with the children in the foster care system. She'd planned on going to grad school and pursue that dream.
Family says she always had a soft spot for kids, and her dream was to work with young people in the foster care system. Mitrice had even passed the test to become a certified teacher. During her senior year, she landed an internship with Dr. Rhonda Hampton, a clinical psychologist.
Psychologist Dr. Rhonda Hampton said she's never let go of what happened to her friend that night. Mitrice Richardson was her intern back in 2009.
Mitrice Richardson was my intern during her final year of college. We would talk about just psychological theory and ethics and law, and she just knew that stuff. It was just fascinating.
Dr. Hampton was immediately struck by Mitrice's warmth and intellect. She was compassionate. I knew this girl was a gift. She's going to be a psychologist, Dr. Hampton later stated. Mitrice graduated in 2008 with a 4.0 GPA with her bachelor's degree in psychology with honors. After graduating, she moved in with her great-grandmother, who was 91 years old now and living alone. She wanted to go help take care of her, like her grandmother had done for her when she was younger, and spend some time with her as she prepared for graduate school to obtain her degree in child psychology. Mitrice began working full-time as an executive assistant at a freight company and also became a certified substitute teacher. But she wasn't all work and no fun. Mitrice also performed as a go-go dancer at a LGBTQ-friendly nightclub in West Hollywood. Family and friends say it was just another example of how Mitrice was able to balance structure with self-expression, responsibility with freedom. Mitrice was seemingly doing well and enjoyed her time with her great-grandmother. They even had a ritual where they would have dinner together every Wednesday evening. But on the Wednesday of September 16, 2009, Mitrice told her great-grandmother she wouldn't be joining her for dinner this time. Her grandmother Mildred didn't think of this as a big deal, as she knew her granddaughter was 24 years old and had right to other plans. Mitrice left her great-grandmother's home around 5 p.m. and headed to Malibu Beach, about 40 miles away. She got there around 7 p.m. and made her way to a nice restaurant called Jeffrey's.
The mystery of Mitrice began here at Joffrey's restaurant overlooking the beautiful beach of Malibu. It was September 16, 2009.
Richardson entered this exclusive Malibu restaurant alone.
When she arrived, Mitrice was told she'd need to valet her car. The valet employee had to park another car, but upon his return to valet Mitrice's car, he found her car empty, with Mitrice now inside of the valet employee's car, his personal car. Confused, the valet asked why she was in his car. He was concerned, thinking maybe she was in danger or something was wrong. But Mitrice allegedly started saying things that didn't quite make sense. Her words were jumbled, like random sentences that didn't connect. The valet gently escorted Mitrice out of his car and into the restaurant.
I greeted Mitrice. I was a hostess.
Caroline seated Mitrice alone. She ordered a $65 Kobe beef New York steak and an ocean breeze cocktail.
Mitrice was seated and ended up ordering a cocktail and a steak. While she waited, she noticed a group of people nearby having a good time. That's when she decided to pull up a chair and join them, which was definitely odd behavior for a fancy restaurant like Jeffrey's.
I saw that she had gotten up from her table and walked and joined another table that was a large party.
But the group stated that Mitrice was really charming and they didn't want to be rude, so they welcomed her to the table.
It just sat there and we looked around thinking, is this a waitress? Do we know? But it just didn't seem like someone that was drunk. Again, she wasn't slurring her words.
There was something obviously wrong with her, but we knew she wasn't being malicious.
Obviously wrong.
The way she was babbling, something mentally.
She had some mental issues.
The group that Mitrice sat with at the restaurant later said that she wasn't making much sense when she spoke. At one point, when they asked where she was from, Mitrice answered, Mars. Her words were scattered. She was saying things that didn't connect, and it became clear to them that she wasn't in the right state of mind or able to form coherent sentences. Still, they found her quirky and interesting. They didn't want to make things uncomfortable, so they let the evening continue. Eventually, they wrapped up their dinner and left the restaurant. Around that time, Mitrice also got up to leave, but as she walked out, the restaurant manager called out to her, reminding her that she hadn't paid her bill.
Later, Mitrice started to walk out of the restaurant without paying her $89 tab.
Jeffrey's wasn't a cheap place. It was a pricey steakhouse, and the bill reflected that. When the manager asked about payment, Mitrice told her friends had already paid for it, referring to the group she sat with. But the manager let her know that wasn't the case, and that she still needed to pay. Mitrice didn't argue, but her responses were scattered. She was still speaking in a way that didn't make much sense. The manager asked if there was someone they could call, maybe a family member who could give a credit card over the phone. Mitrice ended up giving the number to her great-grandmother, Mildred, but because Mildred couldn't physically come down and sign the receipt in person, the manager couldn't accept the payment that way.
And the restaurant manager tried to help find someone to pay Mitrice's bill, but Mitrice didn't have her cell phone, and the only number she could remember was her great-grandmother Mildred's.
And our great grandmother said, I'm 91 years old. I can't drive down there. And she was really distraught and worried about Mitrice.
Even though some restaurant staff and diners offered to help pay the bill to avoid things escalating, the manager was still concerned, not just about the unpaid tab, but about Mitrice's safety.
I checked with some employees and asked, maybe while she was on the phone, and just said, why don't we just pay for her and pull our money together? And one of them said, I don't think that's the right thing to do for her sake. She's not safe to go out on her own. So we decided it was safest and the right thing to do to get her to the police.
It wasn't about arresting her and about money. It was about getting her help. You can't just put them in their car and send them down the road. You don't say you're from Mars. You don't make up languages and talk in gibberish and then give somebody their keys and say, have a nice day.
Something about her behavior fell off, so they made the decision to call authorities. When the manager contacted dispatch, she reported that Mitrice might be under the influence and was refusing to pay her bill. She told them they wanted Mitrice picked up.
Boston Sheriff Station Deputy Shillep, how can I help you?
Hi, I'm calling from Joffrey's restaurant in Malibu.
Yeah.
We have a guest here who is refusing to pay her bill, and we think she sounds really crazy. She may be on drugs or something. We were wondering if someone could come by and pick her up.
Okay, well, what's the address there?
It's 27400 Pacific Coast Highway.
And is she a white, black, Asian, Hispanic?
She's a young black girl. She's probably in her 20s.
Okay, what's she wearing?
She's wearing a black T-shirt and I think blue jeans.
Is she with anybody else?
No, it's just her.
When deputies from the Lost Hills Sheriff Station arrived, they noted that Mitrice seemed nervous and a little disoriented. They performed a field sobriety test, but she passed.
Mitrice passed a field sobriety test.
The officers then asked if there was any way she could just pay the bill. That's when Mitrice mentioned that maybe she left her wallet in her car and asked if they could go check for it in the valet area. The officers went to search the car, but while looking through the vehicle, they found a small amount of a herbal substance in the center console. That triggered an arrest.
Her car was searched. Deputies found less than an ounce of marijuana in the console. The manager who watched the search later told detectives there were also empty pill bottles, along with 2 full gallons of Smirnoff vodka, half a case of Tecate beer, and half a container of tequila in the trunk.
And so I just thought, okay, whatever she has going on, they'll get to the bottom of and be able to help her and keep her safe.
Mitrice was taken into custody and transported to the Lost Hills Sheriff Station. Her car was towed to a nearby impound lot.
We cited her for that, and then we took her to the station here.
The Lost Hills Sheriff Station is in a remote industrial area.
Meanwhile, Mitrice's grandmother Mildred started to worry. She called Mitrice's mother, Latrice Sutton, to let her know something had happened. Latrice, now concerned, called Jeffrey's restaurant herself and was told that Mitrice had been taken into police custody. She assumed maybe her daughter had gotten too intoxicated, which wasn't like Mitrice. She had never been in trouble before. She wasn't someone who drank heavily, so it all sounded a bit strange. Mitrice's mother, Latice, lived 60 miles away and had her 10-year-old daughter at home at the time. It was already midnight, so instead of driving out, she decided to call the Lost Hills station to confirm her daughter was there and to ask about when she'd be released.
I am calling. I'm a little frazzled right now. I understand my daughter is being brought into the station. Mitrice Richardson, have they made it to the station yet, and she's been booked?
Okay, do you know where she's coming from?
It's some restaurant out in Malibu, and I didn't even think to get the name. The manager's name is...
The only place we have somebody that's in custody that they just announced on the radio that they're coming up is from Joffrey's in Pacific Coast Highway. It's the only female that's being brought up to the station as we speak. They actually just put it on the radio right before you called.
Okay. I'm her mother, and are you guys going to book her and then release her on her own recognizance tonight? Because it's dark, she doesn't have a car, and I don't want her wandering out. I'm totally just taken aback because this is so out of character for her. Yeah. And you'll see when she comes in, she's well spoken. I think the only way I will come and get her tonight is if you guys are going to release her tonight.
Yeah.
If going to be held in custody for some type of arraignment tomorrow, then I will wait until tomorrow. She definitely has no place, she's not from that area, and I would hate to wake up to a morning report, girl lost somewhere with her head chopped off, so I guess I would have to come and get her. Oh, my gosh.
When I made the statement, I often wonder, did I foretell what was to come? Did I speak it into existence? I beat myself up about that.
Mitrice was very clear that she was worried about Mitrice being released alone in the middle of the night in an unfamiliar area.
The only thing is, at least in the station here, she will be separated, so nobody's going to be with her. So at least that's, the plus thing, so you don't have to worry about her safety.
I feel safe with her being in custody. It's being released, but I'm worried about it. It's crazy out here.
Yeah, and she'll call you as soon as she comes in, too.
The deputies told her not to worry, that Mitrice would most likely be held overnight and released in the morning. That gave Latisse a little peace of mind. She expected to get a call either from her daughter or the station once she was released. The next morning, around 5 a.m., Mitrice Richardson called the Lost Hills Sheriff Station again to check on her daughter.
Sheriff Station, Hannah, can I help you? Yes, good morning. My name is Mitrice Dutton. I'm calling to follow up on my daughter who was brought in last night around 10:30, 11 o'clock.
Okay, let me transfer you to the jailer. Hold on, please.
Thank you.
We'll hold down.
That's when she was hit with shocking news. Mitrice had already been released.
Mitrice arrives at the station around 10 p.m. Mitrice is searched by jailer Sharon Cummings and put inside booking cell number 1 with another female inmate. The jailer fingerprints Mitrice, takes her mugshot, and runs a check for warrants. There are no warrants. Mitrice has no criminal record. Jailer Sharon Cummings later testified that she saw no signs of mental illness or instability. Mitrice was released from the Malibu Lost Hills Station jail around midnight with no money, no cell phone, and no way to get home. The jailer says it was cold outside, and she knew Mitrice's car had been impounded. She says she offered to let Mitrice stay the night, but Mitrice refused.
The Lost Hills Sheriff Station is in a remote industrial area. Richardson was booked, then released at 1 a.m. The sheriff's department says they offered her a bed for the night because her car was impounded and she didn't have any money. After Richardson made a few phone calls, she simply walked away. The sheriff's department says they couldn't force her to stay.
So they let her walk alone in the middle of the night with just her driver's license and car keys. No wallet, no phone, no ride. Latissa's mother thought this information was extremely out of character for Mitrice. She was usually very cautious, afraid of the dark, and not the type to wander alone, especially in unfamiliar areas.
I know she's scared, and I feel her fear.
And that particular part of Malibu, near the station, was known to locals as remote, dimly lit, and not a place you'd feel safe walking alone at night. Latisse asked the station if she could file a missing person report right then, but she was told she'd have to wait 24 hours.
Lost Hills Station, Baumgartner.
Yes, hi. My name is Latisse Dutton. I called not too long ago regarding my daughter, Mitrice Richardson. How long before a missing persons report can be filed? Is it 24 or 48 hours?
That's normal. Well, it depends on the circumstances, but I didn't take your call, so I'm not familiar with it. Did she just not return home after going out?
She was arrested last night. This is the first time she's been arrested. She's in an unknown area. She's never been in. She's without a vehicle. Nobody can find her.
And where was this at? Where was she arrested at?
Your facility. Her name is Mitrice Richardson.
Okay. Do you know if she's here now, or was she released?
They said she was released.
Okay. And what time was she released?
At just shortly after 12 a.m.
Yeah. Normally, I wouldn't recommend doing one that soon.
Right. What is the time frame?
You know, I guess probably 24 hours would be reasonable. I mean, if there would be some mitigating factors, you know, where, you know, you would suspect maybe something, you know, not quite right.
She doesn't know the area. She's never been in your area before.
Where does she live?
She is unfamiliar with that area.
Do you think she possibly could have gotten a bus home?
No. Listen, my child has never ridden a bus.
Okay.
No.
Right.
She would not know how to ride a bus.
I would probably wait till, you know, early this morning, and if she doesn't turn up, you can certainly call. I don't suspect anything bad happened.
I'm concerned because, well, first of all, I thought they were going to keep her overnight because she was highly intoxicated.
Mm-hmm.
Something is obviously going on with her.
Have you talked to the jailer? And
Yes, I have. He said he tried to get her disabled because she was an adult. They had to let her go. I believe that she is highly depressed, and she's in a depressive state.
You know, it could be possible that maybe I mean, there's a lot of options and a lot of possibilities, and I don't think all of them would be, you know, something dire. But I can certainly understand your fears, you know, being your daughter and all that.
Well, I think she's depressed. That's what has me more
that's worried you more than just her?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That and the fact that she's in an area where she doesn't know where she's at.
Yeah. Does she take medication at all?
No, I believe it's a state that she's in right now because of just the weird activities that's been going on.
What's her name? What's her name?
Her name is Mitrice Richardson.
Okay. And your name, ma'am?
Latisse.
Okay, Latisse. Here's what I want you to do. Why don't you wait a couple hours and give us some time to I'll go back and talk to the jailer and try and get a timeline of when she was released and, you know, make sure she's not asleep in our lobby or anything like that. And then once you give us a call back in a couple hours, if she hasn't shown up or made contact with you, then maybe we can do something for you, okay?
Around 6:30 a.m., just about an hour later, the Lost Hill station received a call from a rancher in Calabasas, about 6 to 8 miles from the station. The rancher reported that he had woken up and seen a young woman sitting on the steps in his yard. When he asked if she was okay, she responded, "I'm just resting." He said she walked off a few minutes later, and though she didn't seem violent or aggressive, he thought it was strange enough to call and ask if deputies could come check on her.
It's about 6:30 in the morning, September 17th, 2009. 6 hours after Mitrice walked out of the Malibu Lost Hill station, she's spotted 5.5 miles away in the backyard of Bill and Karen Smith's home in Montanido.
Malibu Sheriff Station office, can I help you?
Yeah, hi. Hey, this is Smith at Cold Canyon. We had a prowler walking around through the backyard here, but we don't know what the situation was. I don't know if you have a unit in the area. It might do a little drive-by or something.
Okay, where's this at?
This is Cold Canyon, like hot and cold in Montanido. But it's in the back of the house, which is right where Wood Bluff hits Cold Canyon. And we just had a strange woman walking through the backyard here. It's a fairly large property, and she was sitting on the step right on the back of the house here. This is kind of a circular driveway, and the gates were closed, so we don't know where this woman came from.
You said the cross was Wood Bluff?
Yeah, that's right. There's a horse trail, hiking trail access through here, but we've never had this kind of thing happen before.
What's she look like? White, black, Hispanic?
You know, a tall, slim black woman with afro hair.
How tall?
Well, she was sitting down, stretched out on the wooden steps in the back of the house. Hard to tell, but she looked like she might have been medium to slightly tall, with a big afro hair, very skinny, And I think she was wearing maybe jeans or tight pants with a T-shirt.
You've never seen her there before?
No, never. Nobody ever does that. I mean, the people hike on the trail all the time. The trail goes through our property, but we leave it open on purpose because it's kind of a nice thing for horses and people.
And you said she's laying across she was laying across the steps, or?
She was sitting kind of sprawled out on these wooden steps in the back of the house, right against the back of the house.
She's since got up and left?
She's since gone, yeah. She's been gone about 5 minutes now, but as we followed over, we thought maybe a little drive-by wouldn't be a bad idea.
And what direction was she last seen headed?
Never saw her. Once she left, she just disappeared. I moved from one window to another. I said to her, I hollered down, "Are you all right?" And she said, "I'm just resting," or something like that. But she's certainly gone out of her way to get to that close to the house because the hiking trail is not that close. It's on the ridge.
All right, well, since we haven't checked the area for her.
Appreciate that very much.
Not a problem, sir.
Thank you. Bye.
Officers responded and searched the area, but didn't find anyone, so they didn't stay long. Mitrice waited the required 24 hours and then drove in person to the Lost Hills Sheriff's Station to file a missing persons report for her daughter. That's when she was told about the earlier sighting in Calabasas, the woman resting in the rancher's yard. Worried and desperate, Mitrice drove to the area herself, searching the reported sighting location, hoping to find some trace of her daughter. But there was nothing. From there, the case was transferred to the LAPD, since that's where Mitrice was originally from. The LAPD started digging deeper. They brought in cadaver dogs to search the ranch and the surrounding property. The dogs did pick up on Mitrice's scent in the rancher's yard, confirming that she had definitely been there. The dogs tracked the scent to a nearby home, but then it suddenly vanished. The trail ended and they couldn't follow it further. Investigators then went to the impound lot where Mitrice's car had been towed after her arrest. They searched it, and inside they found her wallet, cell phone, and personal journals. What they found inside her wallet also showed she did have money to pay for her dinner. She had debit cards with over $2,000 available, which raised more questions. If she had the money, why didn't she pay her bill? Why wasn't her wallet on her at the time? The journals were filled with erratic writings that didn't make a lot of sense. Page after page of thoughts that felt scattered, unclear. Nothing like Mitrice's family knew her. When they checked her phone, they noticed an unusual amount of activity, dozens of Facebook and MySpace posts, more than a person would typically post in a short time. It gave the impression that Mitrice hadn't been sleeping in the days leading up to her arrest.
A police psychologist who later reviewed Mitrice's journals testified that she was possibly bipolar and experiencing a manic episode that night. And a detective who also analyzed Mitrice's journals, phone records, and social media believes Mitrice had gone about 5 days with almost no sleep.
As investigators pieced together Mitrice's final known movements, a psychologist with the LAPD reviewed the evidence. The erratic journal entries, the confusing speech, the sleeplessness and sudden shifts in behavior. And based on that review, they did suggest that Mitrice may have been experiencing symptoms of consistent with bipolar disorder. For her mother, this conclusion came as a shock. There had never been a diagnosis, no history of psychiatric issues, no warning signs that she could clearly recall. Mitrice didn't understand how something so serious could have gone unnoticed. Feeling ignored, heartbroken, and increasingly frustrated with how the case was being handled, Mitrice's family decided to hire an attorney. They hoped that with legal support, they could push for more answers in the search for their daughter. They weren't just asking for special treatment. They just wanted someone to care as much as they did. The lawyer working with Mitrice's family wasted no time. A press conference was held to bring awareness to Mitrice's disappearance and to publicly call out the lack of support of her loved ones had been receiving.
Richardson's family gathered this week outside the sheriff's department to demand answers. Why would a young woman be left alone to walk into the night in the middle of nowhere?
If Mitrice Richardson's name was Spears or Lohan, they would never let her walk out by herself. They would have escorted her home. They would have given her keys to a car. They would have given her escort.
4 months had passed. There were no signs of Mitrice and no consistent help or urgency coming from the sheriff's department. Feeling abandoned, her family and friends decided they couldn't wait any longer. On January 9, 2010, Mitrice's loved ones organized a large-scale community search. Volunteers, neighbors, and supporters gathered together to cover areas that had never been properly searched. Dozens of people showed up to help. They combed the terrain, hoping for anything, a clue, a sign. But despite their efforts, the search came up empty. There was no sign of Mitrice. On August 9th, 2010, nearly 11 months after Mitrice Richardson disappeared, a discovery was made that brought her family's worst fears to life. 2 state park rangers were hiking through Dark Canyon, a remote, rugged stretch of the Santa Monica Mountains, just a few miles from their neighborhood where Mitrice was last seen. While making their way through the brush, the rangers spotted what appeared to be human remains lying in a dry creek bed. Nearby, they found a clump of dark curly hair and scattered pieces of women's clothing. On August 12th, dental records confirmed the identity. It was Mitrice Richardson. Mitrice's family was devastated, and nearly after a year of being dismissed, delayed, and brushed off, they were now left with a recovered body. Some closure, but no answers.
Ashes to ashes, dust to dust.
It's here among the scrub brush, dusty canyons, and lonely mountain roads that Richardson's body turned up Monday. Sheriff Lee Baca says no overt indications of murder, no bullet holes, blunt force trauma. Richardson embarked on a puzzling course, possibly walking as many as 10 miles to the remote location where she was found. Sheriff's officials say the foliage where the body was found was so thick you needed a machete to cut through it, and it was a couple of miles off the beaten path.
It's illogical to think that my daughter decided to hike up a creek, take off her clothes, go further up, and lay down and die.
She carried herself down a ravine, lay down and die? That doesn't make any sense.
Somehow, Mitrice made it from the Lost Hills Sheriff Station in Calabasas to Bill and Karen Smith's house in Montanito, 5.5 miles away. From there, she traveled at least another mile to where her remains were found in Dark Canyon. Her belt, bra, and jeans scattered hundreds of feet down the ravine.
This is no recreational trail, and for someone like Mitrice, whose own family says that she was the opposite of an outdoors person, it seems like it'd be difficult for her, if not impossible.
I know that Mitrice didn't get to that location by herself.
Oh, there's no doubt in my mind that Mitrice
was an intentional act on somebody's part.
Ultimately, they ruled the cause of Mitrice's death to be undetermined, not a homicide.
The coroner determined that the remains had likely been there for at least 6 months, possibly longer, suggesting that Mitrice had passed not long after she was released from the sheriff's station. The official cause of was listed as undetermined, and to this day, no one knows exactly what happened to Mitrice in the final hours after she left that station. Mitrice Richardson was laid to rest in a private service, surrounded by the people who loved her most. But it still doesn't feel like closure. There were so many missed chances, so many moments where things could have gone differently. Before I get into my thoughts on the case, I do like to ask you all, what do you all think of this case? Let me know in the comments. And if you haven't already, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps bring more awareness to these cases, spread education on the signs of mental health crisis, and push for better systems when it comes to how authorities handle these situations. Firstly, I want to take a moment to honor Mitrice's family because they truly did everything they could. They searched, they spoke up, they pushed for answers when it felt like no one else would, and still ended up without the person they loved the most. In my opinion, there were warning signs in the days leading up to Mitrice's disappearance. Small ones that people could write off as quirky. But in my opinion, looking back, they paint a picture for Mitrice's mental state leading up to her disappearance. It's easy to miss the signs when someone is also doing so well on paper. Mitrice was well educated, articulate, and successful, and I just don't think anyone expected things to spiral. So things got brushed off. At the restaurant, the people she joined at the dinner said she was charming. She wasn't aggressive, just a little all over the place. Her speech didn't make full sense, but she was friendly. That's what makes this hard. It's not like she was causing trouble. She was just unraveling in a way that didn't look obvious. And how the manager ended up calling the police, honestly, I think that decision was fair. It might have sounded cold in the dispatch audio, but what was the alternative? Let her leave, get behind the wheel and possibly hurt herself or someone else? The manager did what they could, and honestly, I feel like that call might have saved her life if things were handled better from there, but they weren't.
I was riddled with guilt for not just getting my youngest daughter up and just going immediately. I thought, why did I have such confidence in law enforcement? You know, maybe things would have been different.
A tragedy of different things that happened that did not allow her to obviously get the support she needed from her family, or us recognizing the fact that she probably should have stayed there longer.
The negligence in this case is clear. I won't go deep into the legal side, but Mitrice's family did win a lawsuit, and honestly, they deserved it. There were so many places where intervention could have happened, but didn't. And yet, even with everything that went wrong, it's clear how deeply loved Mitrice was. Her family never gave up on her. They fought so hard, not just for answers, but to make sure her story mattered.
Knowing that the one thing I ever did right in life, the one thing I thought was perfect to me in life, had to be taken from me.
It didn't have to happen. She had such a bright future. She was such a lovely person too, you know, like, so messed up. Just don't understand.
Because of my faith, I do believe that I'm going to see Mitrice again when it's my time to go. And I look forward to the day.
You never move on, but you carry on.
Mitrice's family believes it was an undiagnosed mental disorder that sent 24-year-old Mitrice into that downward spiral. A police psychologist who later reviewed Mitrice's journals testified that she was possibly bipolar and experiencing a manic episode that night.
I know it's cliche to say, check on your strong friends, but this case is a real reminder that we can miss signs, that we shouldn't be blinded by success or surface level stability. Mental health doesn't always look messy, and sometimes the ones who seem the most put together are the ones struggling in silence. I hope cases like this push for better training, better policies, and more compassionate handling of people in crisis, especially when they don't fit the stereotype of what a mental health emergency looks like. Until then, my advice to everyone listening and watching, have a plan, talk to your loved ones, and don't be afraid to speak about mental health and struggles. This is the story of Mitrice Richardson. Thank you for listening.
If you believe in keeping these cases present and bringing awareness to each story, consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. It helps more people find these stories and helps keep them from being forgotten.